Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new week of weekly sessions. I am excited to have two amazing guests with me this week. We've got Ingrid and Ruth. If you both would love to come on down and join us on video. Thank
Sure.
you so
Hi,
much.
everybody.
So this is a kind of unique week. We're doing something, we're having multiple people on, and the goal is the whole way that QB Community Live actually kind of got started was with Linda and I back wanting to show people the benefits of going to these different accounting conferences and how building your community by attending these things can be such a powerful thing. So what up? Sorry. So this is, I think the right way to say is apropos or appropriate for us to do it this way by bringing on Ingrid. You are doing a couple presentations this year, and Ruth, your company is a sponsor vendor that's there this year that you'll get to tell us a little bit about some other events and such you have going on as well, right?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. So I'm going to start my little fancy presentation that we have here real quick, and we shall get started. Go, boom, boom, boom. Too many buttons. There we go. So this is our first week of our sneak peek for Scaling New Heights. This year is called Unstoppable, is their theme, which everybody's pretty much familiar with. It's ironically the way they pick their themes. They do it about a year and a half before the show even is going on. So this theme was created or selected pre-COVID. So it just seems very, very timely that this will be kind of continuing forward. And if I can ask each of you, Ruth, I have had the opportunity to get to know you. I'd love for you real quickly. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us, who are you? What do you do? That type of stuff. And then we'll go to you, Ingrid, of course.
Sure. My name is Ruth, and I'm the co-founder and COO of Bookkeep. And we are a software company that builds accounting automation software. And prior to that, I have been CFOs for many startups. And even before that, I was at Fortune 500 companies. I am a CPA, but I don't do taxes. Just want to be clear, I don't do taxes. We have been building this company for nearly 4 years now. And I will be very excited to tell you more about it in a bit. That's who I am. And I'm based out of Brooklyn, New York.
Nice. Now, before you go, Ingrid, this actually generates a great question for everybody that's watching, whether it's here Zoom or live elsewhere. We just got past September 15th. So out of everybody, whether you do taxes or not, is that a big relief? We still have another deadline, that October deadline coming up, but it's got to feel good to kind of breathe. So if you're enjoying the day, add something in the comments, tell us about it. And Ingrid, you and I have had plenty of chances to play together. It's always a lot of fun. And a couple of them actually have been Scaling New Heights. First time we actually get to play together was by happenstance at Scaling Heights. But tell everybody, introduce yourself.
Okay. First. Hi, everybody. I'm Ingrid Edstrom, the Priestess of Profits. You can find me at priestessofprofits.com. That's kind of my client-facing website where I have my business strategy and financial workflow design services for tours and activities industry. That's my niche. And then ingridedstrom.com is where you can find my page that's more focused on resources for accounting professionals. So I have a lot of fun articles and videos, free downloads, things like that for accounting professionals there. And I lead a roundtable group with Richard Ropa's Roundtable Labs community. It's basically a mastermind group called Empower Your Passion, where we get into the deeper conversations. A lot of accounting mastermind groups focus on the nerdy app stuff and, oh my gosh, this client did this thing. We get into the deeper mindset kind of discussions of why are we doing this? What deeper purpose or passion is it fulfilling in our lives? How can we be doing it more effectively and really unlock our potential? Yeah, we get into the juicy stuff. So that's where kind of my area of expertise lies, is in those deeper, juicier conversations. Go deep or go home.
I love that. One of the things we were just talking about right before coming on live was the fact it's like, look, we're going to be working for a living, right? It's just what you do. You might as well find a way to make it as fun as possible. Make the most out of it. So I love seeing how that you do that. Ruth, you've now been with your developing this app for 4 years, and as a person who's played in the app world as well, that's a long, hard journey.
Yep.
Long, hard journey. Is that your mascot? Because my mascot's under my desk.
Sorry about that. I was trying to
No,
get
it's
her
all good.
off my desk. She just likes to make some appearances.
Embrace the feline.
Yeah.
We are pet friendly in this community always. So
Sorry, Matt, you want to finish your question?
I know that we were talking about being passionate about what you do, and your background is accounting. You are a CPA, as you said, but you've been working in bookkeeping, developing this thing now for 4 years.
Right.
And that's a heck of a journey. As somebody who's gone through that developing an app process, it's a long process.
It's been totally enjoyable. So when we set out to build this business, we started out as a bookkeeping company. And, we're small, we have maybe 100 clients. But the reason we started out as a bookkeeping business is to actually see what businesses are using and what are the pain points for actual bookkeepers. So I was a bookkeeper when I started, and my partner Jason was the tech guy. So he was, I would do the bookkeeping, we'll find out what the pain points are, and then he'll go out and build software or solutions for those pain points. And, so we say our product is built by accountants for accountants. So we really are very, cognizant of doing the right accounting journal entries. Okay, so sounds like a good point.
I figured I would dive in because it was just a perfect timing of, like you're saying, it's smarter bookkeeping automation. It's built by accountants for accountants, right? So
that's right.
I'd love for you to tell a little bit more about what your app does before we hear about what you're going to be doing at scaling.
Yeah, sure. As I was saying, we were, in the bookkeeping business to find out what's happening in that space and what are the pain points. So what we found out was that a lot of people were struggling with, as the sales channels grow. For example, if you're in commerce, you have Shopify, Square, Etsy, Klarna, right? So all of those different channels started to grow and multiply. So people are having difficulty trying to get all that data into accounting platforms. So that's the most time consuming aspect of it. So that's why we decided to go in and build that automation. So what we want to do at Scaling New Heights, by the way, this is, so that's basically what I was just saying. We build accurate accrual accounting journal entries and makes it automatic and really inexpensive, and saves you hours and hours and makes you more efficient cost-wise. Let me just finish that point on Scaling New Heights. This is my first year Scaling New Heights. I've been going to QuickBooks Connect for a couple of years before the pandemic, and just really loved networking with, bookkeepers, accountants, and really learning about what they're doing and what they really need. What do they, how can I help them? How can I save them time? And how can I make this easier for them? So, of course, pandemic happened. And this year, I was so excited to see Scaling New Heights to be meeting in person, to be honest, because I am, the kind that I think there's so much interaction in person that you cannot have in a virtual situation. And you should never know who you meet and what conversations you get into, and that can develop into things into the future. So I'm super excited about Scaling New Heights. And this year, we're having a booth. It's booth number 38. It's one of the bigger ones, so it's going to be like 10 by 20 booth. And we are sponsoring a power breakfast. It's on Tuesday morning. And the title is going to be The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly About Accounting Automation. So
I love that title, right? I always say when it comes to accounting automation, there's an aspect of it that's kind of smoke and mirrors. And any true automation, it's almost a time equation. how much time is it going to take you to create this automation, or basically, right? How much time will you have to spend maintaining the automations? And that total better be net positive than the amount of time to do something manually anyways.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole key, is that it saves you a ton of time. And we talk about automation because there's so many different ways of doing automation. What's in a journal entry? Do you bring in all the orders, or do you just summarize the sales and put one journal entry into QuickBooks? So just looking at what are the smart ways to do an integration. And of course, a part of that Power Breakfast is we would love to have like a town hall style of talking to bookkeepers and accountants and really asking them what they're seeing, what you'd like to see, how do you use your integrations, and in what ways that best meet your needs, right? So is it a journal entry? Is it a sales receipt? Is it something else? And what do you need? What would you like to see? This is what, part of the whole Power Breakfast is going to be as well. So we're really excited about hearing all of that from all of you.
I love that part. I know for the last couple of weeks, we've been telling everybody about the fact that you've been looking for beta testers for a new aspect of your application as well. So I bring it up now because I want to highlight the fact that the company is very interactive. They want that feedback. I always say behind any good app is a good team. If you don't have a good team behind it, the app doesn't stick around. So this would be a great chance to meet in person and understand, what you can really do with this app.
And not only good team, but good customers, good people to work with, because we can't build anything without input from customers. I mean, it's what they want. How do we meet their needs? So we're just super excited to have this conversation going at the Power Breakfast, and hope you all join us. I think it's going to be super fun.
I will. So Ingrid, she touched
great.
base on the fact that this is her first year at Scaling New Heights, and made me immediately think about you motivated a friend of ours to go last year to Scaling New Heights for the very first time. You know who I'm talking about, of course, right?
Oh, yeah.
You want to share a little bit of that story, because I think it actually illuminates just extremely well what can happen when you go and how you can build community.
Yeah. Well, I know that she would not mind me sharing her name. Sharday Eisenhower is my co-leader for the Southern Oregon Woodard Group. And I had been telling her for years how fantastic Scaling New Heights was. And I didn't even know before the conference last year that she had taken the leap and decided to sign up. And so when I saw her there, my mind was blown. And I was the only person there that she knew at first.
Yep.
And then that lunch on the first day, she was eating by herself because I was off doing something, I don't know what. We hadn't made any particular plans or anything. And you and Linda just happened to come over and find her, like, oh, you're eating alone, let us join you. And next thing we knew, she was friends with like basically all of the instructors. And she had her mind totally blown, the amount of value that she got out of that conference and how open and willing everyone was to share. Scaling New Heights is a very non-competitive environment. Together, we create a rising tide that raises all ships. Competition is a limiting belief built on the idea of a zero-sum game. And we make so much more potential opportunities when we're focused on working together and how to help each other than we do when we're focused on scarcity. So yeah,
Absolutely.
she really felt that right away.
Totally get it.
So I got to give props actually to Joe. Joe was the first person who actually approached her and brought her in, had her come sit with everybody else. And then Linda and I kind of pounced and joined into the group as well. But it was really neat. And you nailed it. The intent of it was like this person who flew from Oregon by herself, went to the show, ended up meeting a whole community of people.
Away from her daughter for the first time.
Yeah. And now she has the ability to connect directly to all these different people when she has a question or challenge, that she can connect directly to those people, right? So you said it well. I always like to say it, together we all succeed. So same kind of scenario.
Absolutely.
Now, so you're doing some sessions this year, and I'd love to hear a little bit about you. I think it's 3 sessions that you're going to be doing this year.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
do you
and
mind telling us a bit about those?
sure. So a couple of them are actually repeats backed by popular demand.
Yep.
People liked them so much in the past that Liz, the education coordinator for Woodard, said, "Hey, will you do that one again?" So the first one that I'm teaching on the first day of scaling is taking a consultative approach to our clients' chronic poverty mindset and really getting into the meat of those client conversations. Because just like Joe's been saying for a really long time, a lot of the accounting process is being automated. Thanks, Ruth. It's like we need the automation. And a lot of people are starting to be a bit afraid that their roles are being automated. And we need to develop more advisory services within our practices. And that's great. A lot of people are saying, okay, so give me the recipe. How do I provide advisory services? And they're trying to follow the linear pattern of if this, then that, when the heart of advisory services is not a linear thing. It's how do we get through our clients' mental and emotional roadblocks to help them with the deeper issues behind their business. That is the real deep root and heart of advisory services. That is what I'm getting into in this presentation, is how to get out from behind our computers and have a real human connection with our clients while still maintaining professionalism. A lot of times we think about needing to be professional and we've got on our professional veneer, and we don't realize that that veneer is a shield that's keeping us from real human connection, because we're trying to show the clients that we're perfect all the time. They don't want us to be perfect. They want us to show them that we're vulnerable too, and that this is a safe place for us to be able to connect, for them to learn and grow, and we get to learn and grow also. And yeah, it's creating that safe place.
So Ruth, last year I had the opportunity actually to be a part of that session as well. And it was
You're
really
thinking of the last one.
Oh.
Yep, you're thinking of a different one. You're thinking of the more so there's consultative approach to our clients' chronic poverty mindset. You're thinking of challenging our thinking.
Oh, okay.
Which is the last session.
Never mind.
Continue. We're gonna give spoilers to all of it. So
what I've always loved about your sessions, they are, when you have other people that come to play and be a part of it, it's always an aspect of the person's role is to try to engage the conversation and just be the, helping to extract conversation from people more than it is like me talking all the time, which is powerful, because then you leave with a feeling like something really, really occurred.
And I really like your approach. Yeah, sorry. I really like your approach, Ingrid, of, really understanding the client from, a psychological or emotional point of view, because that is very true to them. And that's why, being able to, you're almost like a therapist sometimes, they call you every 5 minutes and say, oh, what happened,
We just don't get tips like hairstylists. That's the only difference.
Yeah. And you're such a, help to them. They really look up to you in a lot of ways, right? So I think, you're right, automation is not going to overtake that at all. And I think you've got a great approach from that perspective.
Thank you.
Automation, when done correctly, which we're seeing more and more of, automation truly is supposed to free us up to do higher level thinking, to do more with our clients. Instead of us being forced into doing the mundane, now we can actually do greater things so we can help them succeed.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And we need it for our own practice, because I always say it's important we don't forget we're small business owners as well. You said you had a small practice with 100 clients, by the way, earlier, Ruth. I'm like, what? Oh boy, that was a good size number of clients. So it's a lot.
Yeah.
Right. We're not growing that piece of the business, but it's we just love our clients. That's why it's so, bookkeeping is not just data entry or anything. It's just like they connect with you. They're like, you are the face of your bookkeeping business to them, not some company, but it's personal to them.
Yeah.
Did you ever get the chance? I know you said that, Ruth, that you've gone to QuickBooks Connect different times, but when, as the CPA and doing the bookkeeping, the accounting, did you also attend conferences at that time?
Yeah. I mean, the only ones I went to was QuickBooks Connect.
Okay.
And I've heard a lot about scaling new heights, but I just didn't make the time to go, unfortunately. But now
Worth
I just,
it.
I want to go.
So Ingrid, I think you would agree, and please add on to this as well. What I find to be the biggest difference with QuickBooks Connect versus Scaling New Heights is the educational arm of this, that it is, I'll never forget being, I think it was in Utah. I will never forget, I think. And they asked everybody, like, okay, if you're QuickBooks certified, raise your hand. If you're advanced certified, raise your hand. And over 75% of the room continued to raise their hand, which
Yeah.
shows a dedication, right?
Mhm.
So it's pretty neat.
Yeah. And also the depth of relationships and depth of learning at Scaling New Heights. I feel like QuickBooks Connect is a good introduction to certain topics, but Scaling New Heights takes it to a much deeper level, which doesn't mean that it's necessarily inaccessible. If you're just getting started, it's not that it's super, super advanced, but there's so much more there. They're not skimming the surface.
Mhm.
Speaking of different sessions, so you've got two other ones. What are your two that you've got coming up?
So I guess I talked to somebody this morning saying I was going to do this, and they were like, oh, is this going to be one of those things where you just kind of give a little teaser that makes us want to come, but you don't actually tell us anything? I'm like, no, ask whatever you want. If there's something you'd like to know, post it in the chat, however you want to do it. I can go ahead and share my screen if you want to see, peek behind the curtain, a few slides. So this is consulting your clients through their chronic poverty mindset. And just like Matthew was saying, there is a small group discussion component of this class. Yes, there's a lot of me giving information leading up to this. And we really like to get into actually having those conversations. So sitting down with another accounting professional and talking about examples that you've noticed, poverty mindset in your client relationships. How did you respond to that situation? What worked, what didn't? And if you could do it over again, what would you change? And trying to weave in some of the elements that I teach throughout this presentation, which includes how we can be more positive, stable, competent, and caring in our client relationships, and how we can create an environment of safety, trustworthiness, choice, collaboration, and empowerment with our clients. And it's through these elements that we can really create much deeper relationships with our clients, where they actually reach out to us when they're having a problem, where we know what's going on in their lives and how what's going on in their lives impacts their businesses. And they're not going to feel ashamed or afraid to tell us those things because they think they're going to get a lecture from their accounting professional. And it is these ideas that are making it so that accounting professionals will never be made obsolete by artificial intelligence. A machine cannot do this. So if that's something that you're interested in and want to learn, please come to this session. So yeah.
I will be the first one to admit that poverty mindset, it is something that I have struggled with for quite some time. And
most people do.
Yeah. Sometimes if you go through a difficult financial time, it can be hard to switch back out of that, to understand that this isn't the exact right message, but the idea of you have to spend money to make money, right? Mm-hmm. It's not about spending money, but there's a lot of different methods of investment into your business, which is time, energy, so forth. And so I love this concept, and I definitely need to check this one out.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. And it's interesting to think, you mentioned before, it's like we're therapists. To a certain extent, of course, we don't want to cross that particular line, but there are relationships where I have referred my client to a therapist and said, you know what, this is something that you probably need to talk to a mental health professional about. And supporting them through that process actually helps them to feel seen and heard. So we are not authoring therapy. However, in the same way that they need to go and talk with somebody about their mental emotional problems, it's amazing how many of our clients have hangups about money. And most therapists are not qualified to help them with their hangups about money. So, yeah.
So, yeah, so many times I've seen, clients that don't want to look at their money, right? So they don't look at the financials, and they cannot make the right decisions about investments or spending or payroll, and so they end up in a very cash tight situation or negative cash flow situation. Is that mindset of, if you don't look at it, it's not going to be a problem kind of thing, So I've seen that happen. And that's why I think, bookkeeping is so, so important to guide your clients and say, look at your numbers. You got to know your numbers to know your business.
Yeah. Well, and as many times as we can say that, if they're having an emotional response to just having the conversation, that emotional response is chemical, and it takes about 20 minutes for that initial fight, flight, freeze reaction to dissipate before they're going to be ready to pay attention with their thinking cap back online.
That's interesting.
So we get into the neuroscience behind the client experience. When they're literally panicking in a meeting, we might not be able to tell.
I see.
So I think one of your other sessions kind of might help with some of that, right?
Yes. So getting into the next one, meditation for the busy professional, science and strategies for an integrated life. This will teach us how to do some of those things for ourselves so that we can then in turn bring some of these ideas to our clients. And I recognize that a lot of people think about meditation or yoga as a whole bunch of tree hug and hip crap, especially in Texas. And so this presentation is not a standard, hey, come and say Om together meditation class. We're not going to do that for 100 minutes. I'm getting into the neuroscience behind meditation and the psychology behind meditation and what it is we're trying to get our brains to do and why meditation works, and really talking about those chemical cocktails, figuring out how to be our own mixologist, essentially, and be more intentionally aware of where our emotions are coming from so that we can choose more effective outcomes and better choose our attitude. And so, yeah, getting into the different kinds of brain waves and how we can achieve different states of awareness and alertness in our waking lives when we're not just asleep. And different areas of the brain and how we can have better conscious awareness of how our brains are working. It's really fun, nerdy stuff. Like I try to make this as approachable as possible to an accounting mindset, very, very left brain, analytical thinking, and then applying these ideas through simple practices of, okay, so when we simply close our eyes and turn off the lights for a moment, what happens in our bodies? This is what's happening with our chemicals in our bodies. This is what's happening in our brains, so that we can just start to be aware of those things. And we can start to ask ourselves the question, wow, if I can have this much of an impact on my overall wellness in 2 minutes, why am I not doing this more often?
It makes me think of, this goes out to everybody out there. If you've experienced this, put something in the comments as well. Have either of you ever had a situation where a certain mindset you had led you to be grumpy pants, and you were dealing with a client? I terminated services with a client because at one point in time I had become so aggravated and irritated. And while in that scenario, it was the right decision, I've always felt I could have handled it better. Mm-hmm. And I believe that's the intent of what you're going to help people try to recognize, right?
I think from my experience, whenever I get into a, unfavorable situation, let's put it that way, it's your feelings that, I'm looking at your chart, it's the feelings that you get those thoughts, and then you have those feelings, and you behave a certain way, and then you can't get out of the loop. It's like thinking, feeling, just stuck there. And at some point you just got to say, I got to stop this. I'll go out for a walk. I got to, do something different just to break the cycle. Get me out of that mental state.
Yeah. And what's really fascinating is that those mental states are addictive. And when I say addictive, I mean, in the same way that people become addicted to drugs and alcohol, we become addicted to the chemical cocktails that our own brains are making. Our cells develop more receptors for certain emotions, and then we create the situations to make those emotions because our body feels hungry for them. And if we're not aware of that, the cycle continues to perpetuate.
Right.
That's really interesting. And there's one other thing, at least I know, success, people love to be around happy, successful people. Success is contagious that way, right? So this leads to that. If you're able to kind of train your mindset, that's, I guess a lot of people would say you're manifesting your success.
Yeah.
So, and Stacy's actually saying that she's really looking forward to scaling new heights. I'm glad she's going to be going as well. So I'm so looking forward to seeing so many people again this year. It's going to be great.
Yay.
What's your third one? So what's your...
So the third one is the one that you kind of did a teaser to earlier. This is one that Matthew has participated with me in the past. So this session is all about the small group conversations. It's always the final session of Scaling New Heights. And we take this opportunity to really unpack what we've learned at the conference, because how often do you go to a conference and you learn all kinds of great things and you have a million amazing intentions and tons of notes that you're never going to look at again. And the second you get back to the office, it's back to business as usual. So this final session is an opportunity to figure out what is the one thing that I am dedicating myself to. This is going to change. I'm going to focus on implementing this one app, or changing this piece in my practice, or wrapping my mind around, my pricing or my niche, ideal client relationship, whatever that might be for you, so that we can really dive in and talk about those things together to make it so that when you get back, that process has already been started and it's not just going to go by the wayside. And I'm going to give you, go ahead, Matthew.
I'm just saying, super important, super important. It's a decompression. And I remember Tanya's even saying that it's always one of her favorite sessions. I remember going through the process and afterwards just feeling more relaxed. It just, because you got to, it gave that moment to kind of reflect on all the stuff that occurred and to start to kind of think about what is your plan of attack going to be? What are you taking away? So
it's really kind of a capstone. And I've had people in that session say, why isn't this required? Everyone needs to be doing this. Why are people leaving the conference, early? This is worth an extra night in the hotel. And I see now Tanya just joined in the chat, says this is one of my favorite sessions. Tanya is one of our instructors on this session. So I'm not teaching this alone. I have 4 other breakout instructors joining me in this, which is why Matthew has been participated in the past with this. And I choose instructors who are particularly good at facilitating conversations. Like you were saying, Matthew, encouraging the participants to speak so that we're not just the talking head at the front of the room. We dig in and encourage others to process their learning experience. And I'm going to give you all the juicy, no holds barred teaser. You get to see the questions in advance. So these are my co-facilitators this year. I've got Tanya, Audrey, Lamont, and Heather, and the questions that they are posing to the group. Hey, bleeps, blurps, and chirps. Canine.
Okay, I wasn't the only one. And mine doesn't make any noises.
Those are the best bleeps, burps, and chirps.
So one time I don't put the locks in the gate, somebody comes knocking on my door.
Always.
So that's okay though.
So this is kind of where we're starting the conversation, recognizing that these questions are not intended as railroad tracks. They're just conversation starters, and people can kind of get up and move from group to group as they want. General rules of engagement, trying to seek deeper questions. And we're having synergistic, open-minded teamwork and listening to each other, stepping outside of our comfort zone and really just working together to learn and grow. And depending on how many participants we get in this session, we may group a couple different groups together if we have a handful of participants, because of course we have no idea what the COVID climate's going to be next month at this point. But if we have a ton of participants and we need another group, then I will also jump in and probably lead a discussion around those poverty mindset kinds of conversations. How do we get to those deeper, juicy conversations with our clients? So lots of good discussions to be had at Scaling New Heights.
So I'd like to steal back the screen share, if it's okay, if you want to shut that down. And what I'd love to hear now is advice, tips, tricks to make this a successful show. What would you recommend that people do? What's a plan of attack to make this great?
Oh, Tanya's saying hydrate and rest in the chat. That's an important one, definitely. I think pacing yourself is a big thing. A lot of people try to take on too much at once. And as an introvert myself, which a lot of people don't realize when I'm up in front of a group playing talking head, I definitely need my alone time. And I know last year at Scaling New Heights, I'm gonna I'm gonna do a big confession here. Because there was the opportunity to watch the main stage online, I ended up watching most of the main stage presentations from my room. One, because of the COVID environment, and two, just because I was so jet lagged and I needed a moment alone. And just making sure that you do not burn yourself out. Tanya's saying, yes, my best mentors have always told me to take time to rest. And if I don't experience overwhelm and burnout, it's really important to pace yourself.
So now, Ruth, for you, obviously a little bit of a different perspective. You've already done QuickBooks Connect. Your experience is quite different, but do you have any tips or suggestions of how to make this successful for other vendors that are doing these type of events?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the best thing to get out of in-person conferences is making connections. Yeah, making the connections, not just, people directly in your space, but, just getting to know people and what they're working on. And you just never know where these relationships will lead to, and I think I've gotten so much out of just meeting different people at QuickBooks Connect that, I've had relationships going on for a long time. And those relationships, they last not just at the conference, but, years after that, because we keep running into each other, right? And then you hear names and this and, different people doing different things. So that is the most valuable thing that I feel that I can get out of a conference. Of course, the sessions are really, really informative, especially if you're doing continuing education. But for me, I'm more from the software vendor side. And I just, connect with your customers. That's the most important thing. Connect with your customers. Find out what they want. Find out if they're happy with your product. Find out what ideas or suggestions they have. I think that's really super valuable for us.
I love it. I would say from my side, couple things. If you, as best you can, have a conference buddy. Super, super helpful. For women that will be attending, a change of shoes is always very, very, it's a great idea. Having somebody to carry those shoes in a backpack is also a good helpful thing as well. Don't try to do don't overpack. You guys have already said that. Schedule some time, leave some time to be able to be out in the hallway to connect to your community is super, super, super important. Before you go, make sure that you can get onto the app already and you can start figuring out what sessions it is that you want to attend. Have some of a plan of attack. If you're bringing other people from your company, maybe you conquer and divide. With apps, maybe you try and figure out one pain point that you're trying to solve. Don't try to fix the whole workflow at once. Figure out the most important pain point and do a little bit of research ahead of time so that can buy you that free time. And then when there's events, make sure you're connecting to people because the events are fun. We
They
don't tell
are.
anybody that they're fun because we want our clients to think it's a boring accounting conference, but it's fun. So
I think you hit the nail on the head with the FOMO, trying to pack too much in and being afraid that we're going to miss something ends up having us running around getting superficial experiences.
Yeah.
When the best, most memorable experiences are the ones that we deep dive into. Those deeper conversations one-on-one, when we really focused on what it is we're trying to solve in our businesses and our practices. And yeah, a lot of really good. And Tanya in the chat said, you've met Joe and seen him carry my shoes. So Tanya's got her buddy, her conference buddy. And then Stacy has her advice. Don't leave the last day of the conference. Find people to have dinner with and discuss your takeaways from the conference.
love that.
Yep.
Love that.
Yep.
I will be doing some of the running around being crazy like I do every year. I still plan this year to do live stream from the event going around. So Ruth, I will definitely come by your booth and interview you there, be able to show people what's going on. The goal is, of course, we want people to attend because the more of our community we have that's going to be showing up there, the more we get to interact and connect. But if you're unable to go this year, I'm going to be doing my best to do some live stream. I know there are going to be podcasts going on. Everybody's so juiced and pumped up to be able to be back in person again is going to be great. And I know I can't speak to specific details, but I do know just to make some people feel more comfortable, they are taking into consideration that we are still not out of a complete COVID world. So it worked amazing last year, and I know we'll have a great time again this year. It's going to be awesome. So for people that are here today, as you saw, I just did a quick poll, which I appreciate. This also lets us know who was registering, because part of what's happening is these next couple weeks, basically this week, basically 3 weeks, people that attend and live, you registered to attend live. Each time you are here, you're entered in to get a free ticket for Scaling New Heights. Now, I also have confirmation. If you've already got your ticket for the year, you can either use it for somebody else, or should you need to, you can actually extend it to next year as well. Cool. So again, our goal is I've always wanted to be able to do something like this where we're getting people to go to these events at the same time. Together we all succeed. So
awesome.
Any last words, comments, thoughts?
I'm just looking forward to meeting everybody in person.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's excited to go.
I know there's going to be some fun events. Stay tuned. And I'm just, we start to, I just realized, Richard, I apologize. You're right. Us guys, we need to bring a different pair of shoes to change as well. He's actually right about that. 100% correct on that one. So, but stay tuned for different events. We'll start hearing more about that as we get a little bit closer for it. For the presentation today, I'm going to pull up real quick for contact information. Ruth, I've got your basic contact info. What is the best way for people to reach out and connect to you now at this time, though?
Email would be the best.
Okay. And you guys will be able to, this will go up to the website as always, downloadable, of course, and there's more information about Bookkeep behind that. Ingrid, I hope I got your contact info as well, correct?
Looks good.
They're all linkable as well. What is your preferred method of connection?
Email generally works best for me as well.
Okay, good to know. And then mine is just don't email me. Don't email me. Don't email
You won't
me.
respond. Facebook Messenger is so much faster.
Yes, you can email Mary at parkwaymail.com instead. That works much, much better for me. So on that note, I appreciate you two jumping on this week. Again, we've got special guests that will be coming on next week. We're basically doing special guests the next 4 weeks in a row, so people will get to talk about what they're going to be doing, different vendors coming on. And on the 30th, we're going to be doing this drawing for a giveaway. It's going to be a random number generator. So we'll do it live, so there's no fixing it. So I know, Stacy, you really, really want to win, but we got to do it legit. So
Nice.
On that note,
this was lots of fun, Matthew. Thank you so much.
Thank you both for coming on. On that note, though, I will wish you all a very successful week.